Other news now, and Turkey says it's high time the US stopped arming Kurdish forces in Syria. The group, considered to be terrorist by Ankara, has been fighting Islamic State in the region, but with ISIL all but defeated there. The presidents of the US and Turkey seemingly agreed on Friday to end support for the Kurds.
Our friend and ally told us every time that it was not an option, but an obligation. Since ISIL has now been eliminated, this obligation has disappeared.
Well, if Washington finally does cut its military supplies going to the Kurds, it will go some way to easing the current tension between Turkey and the US. That issue has been a long-term stumbling block in relations between the two NATO giants, with Ankara claiming the US is arming one terror group to fight another. However, America seems to have its own definitions to describe the various Kurdish groups in the region, as Sameera Khan now explains.
Kurds, the largest stateless minority in the world. The Kurdish population is in Turkey, Iraq, and Syria. And it seems for the US, it's more about where they are rather than who they are. Let's start with Turkey. On one side, Ankara, Washington's regional and NATO ally. On the other, Ankara's sworn enemy, the rebellious Kurdistan Workers' Party.
The fight against the Daesh terrorist organization should not be led with another terror organization. We want to believe that our allies would choose to stand beside us and not on the side of terrorist organizations.
Well, the choice is obvious, and the U.S. lists the PKK as a terrorist group.
We support Turkey in the first fight against terror and terror groups like ISIS and the PKK.
Over in Iraq, the Kurdish Peshmerga were crucial in the U.S. fight against the Islamic State. Washington put up money and provided all the weapons they needed. But with most of the fighting over, so is America's benevolence. Iraqi Kurds are losing the oil wells they fought out of terrorist control, and the reserves are now going back under government control, the U.S.-obedient Baghdad. The Kurdish push for independence has also received the cold shoulder, with Secretary Tillerson stating that the referendum and its results lack legitimacy and the U.S. supports a united Iraq.
The disappointment is very great. Although we have a long negative experience with the American, the wrong signs they sent to Abadi through their strong position against the referendum encouraged Abadi and the Iraqi government to come so strongly and be in a position that they think they can even cancel or eliminate the status of federalism in Kurdistan.
Off to neighboring Syria, where the Kurdish YPG also got everything they needed from the U.S. in their fight against ISIL. Money, weapons, training, and praise.
We should be using the Kurdish. We should be arming the Kurdish. They've proven to be the best fighters. They've really proven to be the most loyal to us. And we should be working with them much more so than we're working.
But they managed to hang on to the oil fields that they liberated with no questions from their American pals. Washington claims that it seeks a unified and sovereign Syria, but it also wants a Syria without Assad.
I think that the United States will continue to support the Kurds. We heard General Mattis and the Secretary of Defense say only a few days ago that the United States would remain in northern Syria in order to give traction to the Geneva process. And that means that the United States wants leverage. They want leverage against Assad, against Russia, and against Iran. And of course, the Kurdish troops that the United States has been arming now own about 25% of Syria's territory in the north and somewhere around 50% of all the oil and gas in Syria. So this gives the Kurds quite a bit of leverage.
Well, that's unless Turkey gets its way.
Mr. Trump clearly stated that he had given clear instructions not to provide the YPG with arms and that this nonsense should have ended long ago.